This is the best of the Rocker Morning Show with Meatball and Mark.
Robert, you're on with Mark and Meatball.
Good morning.
Good morning, Robert. Good morning. How are you, sir?
I'm okay. How are you?
We're doing great, man. One of the greatest American songwriters and founding member of Rock and Roll Hall of Fame band, Chicago, Robert Lamm. Welcome to the Rocker Morning Show. We appreciate you hanging out with us today, dude.
All right.
Well, first off, Robert, I know towards the end of the last tour you were on, you were only performing a few songs with the band before exiting for the night. What were you dealing with at the time, and are you feeling better headed into this new tour?
Well, yeah, I am feeling better. I had a few things. One crazy thing, I was getting on stage on that tour. I was walking on stage from the wings.
Yeah.
It was very dark, and I tripped on a piece of lumber.
Oh, my gosh.
And I hit the floor so hard that I still have kind of a stiff neck, but it was really tough. And then we all, pretty much everybody in the band, had their bout with COVID.
Yeah.
One time or another throughout last year, but everybody has survived, and very grateful for the fact that we're able to perform.
Absolutely.
And this year's really kind of a busy year. We intend to play from now until the holidays. And
Wow.
Actually, we're still rehearsing during the first part of the day to bring the repertoire kind of a little more interesting.
Yeah, you guys are you're going to be here May 19th at Four Winds Casino in Michigan. It's definitely not the first time Chicago's been through Michigan. You guys have been a band now for 55 years and have gone through a number of lineup changes. How would you describe the band now, the lineup now, as opposed to like 50 years ago when you guys got started going out on the road?
Well, I would say that when we started, we were not what you would call professional musicians. We were just a young rock band.
Yeah.
And we learned so much over the years from recording all the albums that we did, and touring with other bands and seeing how other pros got it done. But nowadays we have a guy, Lauren Gold, who plays with other bands. He's not playing with us. Of course, we pretty much got him tied up for the rest of the year.
Right.
The guitar chair was really tough to fill. We have Tony Obrada, who's probably the most amazing guitarist since Terry Kath was in the band, and so that's kind of an exciting thing every night. We're playing the songs that we play pretty much every night, but to hear a young guitarist really just nail it is really kind of a thrill. So
that's super cool.
I'm enjoying the performances as much as people in the audience, I have to tell you.
And that's another thing that I love about Chicago's music, really, is how timeless it is and continues to inspire. You were talking about your newest guitarist in comparison to Terry Kath, and I was telling Meatball the other day, I sent him a text message. I don't know if you've heard of or have seen the new Netflix film called We Have a Ghost. It's kind of a comedy, but within the first 5 minutes, Chicago gets brought up at the beginning of the film. I don't know if you've seen this.
I have not.
Well, it's the main character. It's a kid. He's a guitarist, and he's listening to Chicago, and he's having a debate with his dad that Terry Kath is the greatest guitarist of all time, whereas his dad says it was Hendrix. And I thought that was super cool that, here we have a new movie. There's a young kid, young guitarist, and he's bringing up Chicago. I'm like, this is fantastic.
I like it. Because really, nowadays the music world is not so much interested in guitars.
Yeah.
It's more about beats and sampling, which I like too, but it's a very different world.
Well, there's something very cool and very personal about being able to play that stuff on the guitar. And it's interesting that, both Terry and Jimi got brought up there. You actually, knew and met Jimi. You guys toured and played with them around the area. Like, is there something that maybe you could mention about Jimi that would kind of make the argument for him being the better guitar player, or maybe for Terry in that regard?
Well, I know that Terry loved Jimi's approach to guitar. Nobody played the guitar up to that point like Hendrix.
Yeah.
But once they got to know each other, Hendrix actually said, and actually he came to see us play while we were playing at the Whiskey in L.A.
Oh, cool.
And Hendrix came in to see us, and before he left, he said, that guy, he's a lot better than I am. So I think they had mutual admiration, which is it gives me chills just thinking about it.
So that pretty well settles the argument then. Even Jimi Hendrix thinks Terry was a better player.
Well, you have the new album, Born for This Moment, the 38th studio album that came out last year. I remember when I was talking to Jimi last year, it was just about to drop. I really do love the horn arrangements on the album. How has the reception been for it, and can we expect to hear some of these new tracks on the upcoming tour?
Yes. As we're moving along, I think we've only played 4 gigs so far, so we've got a long way to go.
Right.
But we're using days off to rehearse and try to work in the newer material, which is kind of fun. I mean, we love the repertoire that we always play, that people come to hear, and we have to acknowledge that people love the older songs.
Yeah.
So we play them, but we do like to bring in new material whenever we can, and that's what after I'm done talking with you, I'm going downstairs to rehearse.
Nice.
Let me ask you about the new material, because there are a lot of bands, that are classic era rock and roll bands that I don't want to say rest on their laurels, but I mean, you go see them now, and it's basically the same show they've been playing for 20 years. It's the same music, maybe a different setup and a different stage setup and stuff. Do you feel like there's an obligation for Chicago to introduce new music to keep that playlist fresh, I guess, on a live show?
I have to say that on a personal note, I do love bringing in unfamiliar material, even older material that we haven't played, to death.
Sure.
So there are songs from the first album, the second album that were basically album cuts, but they stand up when we play them in concert, along with the big hits.
Yeah, absolutely.
So I think that there's a certain part of the audience that really wants to hear a new song from time to time.
Very cool.
And so I think that we should, and we do, and this year we are bringing that new stuff in from time to time.
That's awesome. Mark was also telling me too, by the way, when you were recording this album, you did it a little different. You recorded it while you were on tour, is that right?
Not quite.
Okay.
No. That was a couple albums ago.
Or was it the Christmas album? I think it was. That may have been the Christmas album. I think.
Yes, we did one Christmas album like that, and we actually did an earlier album, maybe a year or two before the Christmas album. But this year we're actually doing 2 albums at the same time.
Oh wow!
And don't ask me to explain it.
Do you find when you're recording, because you did mention that you've done a couple albums while you were on the road, do you find that process of recording on the road easier or more difficult? Because, I mean, you have the added benefit of everybody in the same place at the same time, but also you're not at home, in a studio relaxing. You're kind of out in the world. Like, do you find the process, is it just different, better, worse? What do you think?
Well, recording the album, recording anything on the road is not fun.
Okay.
But you have to do what you have to do, and so I much prefer the band being together in one place. Now, having said that, on this album, I was writing songs before we knew that there was going to be an album.
Okay.
Before the record company came and said, "Hey, we want a late career Chicago album." So I was like halfway. I wasn't even doing a solo album. I was just writing songs with some of my friends that I love working with. So about halfway through that process, then we got a proposal from BMG Records.
Okay.
And so we began working. Some of us were working. Well, we were working in file sharing world.
Gotcha.
And which was fun, but nice to know that it's possible. But then there were guys, part of the band were working in Arizona at Lee Lochnade's studio. So it was kind of, like I said, it was like 2 albums at the same time, maybe more. But
that's crazy.
It got done. The record company was pleased. Joe Thomas, the producer, he brought it home.
Yeah.
A lot of work for him. So anyway, that was that.
Awesome. Well, again, May 19th, Four Winds Casino Resort in New Buffalo, Michigan. You have the chance to see arguably the greatest American rock band of all time, Chicago. Robert, it was great to chat with you again. All the best health and luck on the upcoming tour, and thanks for hanging out with us today, man.
Mark and Meatball, thank you so much.
Hey, thanks, man.
Take care, dude.
Live weekday mornings from 6 to 10 and on demand in the Rocker app. It's the best of the Rocker Morning Show on 107.7 RKR.